Mallow, Ireland, December 16th, 1796. Cornelius Pembroke lay in his blood at the foot of his own house. The pistol shot clattered through the frost. The first light of the new day had not yet warmed the hoary grass. Lady Pembroke stood in the frozen blades, her hands cupped to her mouth. She stared as the blood melted the crystalline dew, crimson spilling into white. Pembroke had been a magistrate from Mallow. He had just turned 52. And his wife of 30 years understood as she watched the grass and frost and blood that he would not see 53. Your man had a lot of enemies. I leaned into the hardwood back of the chair. Sarah slid from the arm to my lap. I didn't say that. Her hand stroked my black hair. I just told you what happened yesterday morning. So much happens when you're away. Don't you know how much excitement dislikes you? Sarah laughed. You are like our spotted hen. I married an old woman. And what sort of excitement should interest me? I pulled her head to me and whispered. As emissary, my labors are danger enough for us both. What have we heard of the murderer? Nothing at all, her head tilted against my shoulder. On the night before the shooting, I swore in 3 men. Do you know? I could not find my Bible, but one was present at the United Meeting. You had it, you thief. You wished to make me look bad in front of our brothers. But the murderer. None of the United Irish Society would risk such an obvious scandal. No doubt the killer had a vendetta, and most certainly an agrarian-derived discontent, but not a white boy or any of that sort. The act was too swift and clean, but mark my words, sir, the villain was dealt fair justice. Pembroke, as you said, was a hard and vicious man. Actually, she reached to kiss my cheek. It's easier to consider the names of those who wouldn't wish him dead. Uncle, of course. That was a cruel vision for Lady Pembroke. You cannot find feelings for her. She was not privy to the husband's work. Yes. And what do you think of the poor wife and child whose man finds death at the hands of government, of fate, of struggle? Lady Pembroke has food and finery beyond the dreams of the best of our country. I feel no sorrow for her, and I am sure she has felt little sorrow for others on that property. None of that sort ever do. She will not know pain and sorrow and want. What do they say? That the poor are used to it? What travesty raises those words and tries to use apathy to further the hands of treachery, thievery? It is the poor who are burdened. The rich never know the sting. What do you say to that, emissary? I say it makes me happy to know that I work to see that changed. And if your wife works to see that change through her husband takes the Bible from her desk, I cocked my head to see her face. She raised a suspecting eyebrow. I thought you'd mention the irony of an atheist with a Bible. 'Tis commonplace. You know I am aware that you are a heathen. You inspire thoughts in my head too subtle to raise my concerns. Now that you've rested, how is our Dublin house? How is Mireille and dear Elizabeth? They are both well. Mother has not fallen worse from the sickness, though she does not gain any coherency. She is cloistered from us in her own illusions. Mireille waits for the spring when she will come to us here for her celebration. Yes, 17. She is such a stunning thing. What havoc will those tawny locks play at her birthday dinner? And to think her brother bears the tresses of such an intolerable black. Is that my curse? Indeed, it is a curse, a love curse. You are but an angel-faced demon to the fair sex, and you will find that out tonight. She kissed my cheek, which is why I asked if the coach was not too terrible a strain. And what is the significance of tonight? Uncle, her lips broadened to hold an impish sneer, has arranged for an assembly. The Christmas season is near, and it is hard to book local quality as the date itself nears. There will be certainly a flock of young ladies, you know. Her finger traced the bridge of my nose. I will set them on you as any huntress. Her small hand rubbed the ring on my finger. For what cockerel in the mix can compare with this? You know how that drives Uncle mad. He hates you so. And to see the most eligible waifs fawning over the man who stole his niece should make his face as twisted as a lemon, huh? The huh was accompanied by a crooked smile. Identical flames flickered in the silver candelabra. The chandeliers burnished the white painted dining room into amber. The early December night stared into the windows, amazed at our ability to transcend its influence. The table raised its splendor upon the best Belfast linen. We were 11. Mrs. Chinnery, her two daughters, Lucy and Catherine, now 16 and 18 respectively. Young Mr. O'Connell, who just passed the bar. The hawk-faced guest of Leighton, a Mr. Lawless, curate formerly of Belfast. Leighton himself and his wife, Caroline. Sarah and I rounded out the numbers. She had placed herself by the side of Mrs. Chinnery, away from me, but careful enough to be close enough to enjoy my distress. The eldest of the two daughters sat to my left, buffering my proximity to my uncle-in-law, whose incorrigibly leering glare feigned to place its trajectory anywhere near my direction. The widow Chinnery sat across from me. Unlike the eternally repugnant Richard Leighton, she stared at me from the side of the tiers of sweetmeats and confections with undaunted inquisition. Wrinkles edging her squinting eyes set them into an even beadier frame, as those tiny orbs facilitated her analysis of my plate. She had taken an accountant's stock of the potatoes, carrots, and fried cauliflower, and I knew of what fare she never found there. The conversation, once enlivened over the latest Dublin theatrical production, found the edges of the topic and fell silent. This opportunity awakened the deductions percolating in the matron's brain. I could feel her interest, or rather perplexed curiosity. If I drank the claret, my desperation tried the chance she might be dissuaded. I might as well have thrown salt over my shoulder or any other practical paganism. The attempt failed. I noticed, Mr. Brennan, that you seem to lack much of an appetite. I shot a condemning spear at Sarah, who suddenly fell under the same thirst I had just wet. Her eyebrows were raised under the influence of delight. Thank you, Miss Chinnery. I am quite well. In fact, this early chill does enliven one's interest in the table. But you have not touched any of the game or roast. Mr. Lawless glowered at me. His sharp features breathed information from the air as he held the aura of a most unsettled disposition, exponentially heightened by an unusually sallow hue. Ah, Sarah found empathy for me. We do not partake of such foods as my husband and I are vegetarian. It is a most natural diet and does wonders for one's mind and health. Still, I fear I've spoken too much about diet. What an indelicate subject for the table. Let us turn to a subject of less coarseness. What say you, Daniel? Have you nothing of Dublin life to relate to us? It is such a colorful city if you find yourself in the countryside. Miss Lucy, you must be eager to hear of such tales. I smiled coldly and poured the reserved young lady at my left some more of the claret. She blushed for my attention, and she disliked, in fact held, a literal inability to make eye contact with me. My displeasure for the cruel play my wife arranged was packaged away for later, after I had drunk a suitable amount of liquor. Lucy, my sister is arriving in April to celebrate her birthday. She is just your age, as she is to see 17 the next year. Oh, that sounds delightful. Mrs. Leighton pressed a hand to table with the smoothest delicacy. What do you say to that, Richard? How would you like to entertain two lovely ladies under our roof? The pale green eyes tried to burn through me. Whatever you wish, my dear. It is an honor to host the Chinnerys, as always. Daniel, Sarah tells me you have an interest in the natural sciences and have studied at Dublin. Have you read any of Priestley? The cherubic young O'Connell beamed interest. His straw-pale hair was bound back by several strands found liberty despite the grip of the satin brow. Coarse talk, sir. We shall have no such insider of calumny and disgrace at table. Leighton grunted as he emptied another glass. My very unwholesome presence seemed now to be driving him to the relief of alcohol. This natural philosophy will ruin the arrangement of society. There is nothing wrong with the pursuit of curiosity for hard use, but when these reasoning extroverts remove themselves from their respectful roles in the world to enter into things for which they have no head or knowledge, the results of such of these experiments will raise destruction. Men are raised for explicit roles. Mark my word. And the cowherd or chemist should not meddle with the states other men are bred for. Really, uncle, Sarah clipped, the discovery of oxygen is no heathen. Do not say anything of Priestley. The pursuit of natural philosophy is at home in the minds and means of the most cultivated of men. I say that he did, for I am also sure that, uncle, you have read Ecclesiasticus, that the upper orders are wise because they have the opportunity of leisure. Mr. Lawson, what say you of my allusion? Very accurate, Mrs. Brennan. I am pleased to hear such a fine understanding of divine law. It is most becoming of a young woman to follow the wise direction of the Lord's doctrine. Sarah's eyes locked upon mine. Lawson could not value the sarcasm being shared. She turned to her uncle. Thank you, Mr. Lawson. Too bad the great book vindicates the ability of one man to another. Nevertheless, uncle, is not Priestley just echoing the word of the Bible in saying that it is up to those of means to pave the road of progress? The patronage of the great is essential to the flourishing state of this science. For though so many may project great improvements, but they, he means the quality, only have the power of carrying them into execution. Mrs. Brennan! Chinnery started from her chair. There was a frenzied reaction between disgust and exasperation on her eternally revolted features. I have not heard a lady speak such a rattle of science. She nodded to her daughters. I am sure you do not mean to present such a horror. A woman's charms are so weakened by unnatural pursuit. How one's beauty and sensibility are distorted by deep understandings more suitable to the sphere of men. I beg to retell history, Mrs. Chinnery, as it was my wife's intellect and clever musing which beguiled me. Such intellect married and raised to the sublime the beauty which unadorned nature placed there. She is a partner to me in my work, and as much as she is an equal, she supports what falls incomplete in me. Well, of course, there you are right on the last head, sir. A wife's duties revolve around her sensibility. That is why the fair sex is so named. It is her womanly refinement, her delicacy, her tempering nature. Of course, she is a counterpoint, a complement to you, as you allude, for that is the natural gift of a wife. It is quite artificial for a woman to indulge in everything. She cannot be both a man and a woman, and this is the ultimate result of such extreme cultivation of her mind. For she will then emerge only half a woman and half a man. She will then be forlorn, for she cannot find or enjoy or respond to those innate, Mr. Brennan, innate calls from her nature. A wife will please you, sir. She will press herself to whatever you ask of her, even if it is unfair, and fights against her will. I ask nothing and press nothing of my wife. We are two distinct wills. It is but by love that we are brought to common ground, for it exerts a pull which cannot be denied, even as it is craved. I believe in that pure expression of affection, because I feel it. And so know that it is not an effigy, but a solid thing that guides me. I wish to love. If anyone desires or expects less in life and forbids or delays this unpolluted endowment for contrivances of philosopher's deceit, I can only but hope that they pause to welcome lucidity's hand so that they might find the source from which earthly joy springs. I beg leave, madam, I do not argue with you, but only explain the authority which guides me. And it is, what in its humblest understanding I consider, nothing less than the influence of love. Oh, that is so beautiful. Catherine's amber hair was barely 3 shades deeper than her fair skin. Like the petals drifting from a worn rise, it is like Coleridge, but it means so much more when love is spoken in life. What feelings are made to leap which cannot move much when bound to a page? I met the glisten in her blue eyes. You are generous, Miss Catherine, though I fear I am no poet. I only found what was in my heart. Though that is what a poet does, Mr. Brennan. They give a soul words so that it might be shared and it might not be caged and lonely. Is not what we feel truth? Are they not the most erudite of philosophers? Lawson sat across from me to the young lady's right. He had said so little during the dinner that one would think he had not said nothing. He was a dour man of a morose disposition. He could not have been past 40, but some draining influence brought him lower than his age should bring. His thin lips chilled me as he addressed the creature to his left. The lady sat to coffee as we retired to the sitting room. This was a most uncomfortable arrangement, as we were so few, and the animosity simmering within Sarah's uncle found itself under pressure. When would the vapor explode? Lawson was eager to indulge in the older man's company, and the two macerated over the details of Pembroke's business affairs. Lawson's facility with economics teased my interest as to his hobbies, but I held little ambitions to inquire. A servant prepared brandy, and the added body eased the suffocating visibility of our small party. My effort to fashion the evening into a palatable form found me drinking more than usual. I was already under the distinct haze of the alcohol, and the additional liquor would secure those effects. This prospect was delightful. I felt a breeze and found another young guest bent to my side. I gestured for him to take another chair. Please, Mr. O'Connell, the brandy is excellent. Tell me, have you an interest in the Miss Catherine? I smiled. Thomas, please, and I am considerate, asking after the young Miss Chinnery, yes. Daniel. Daniel, I hate formalities. They seem so superficial, as if they were the only things keeping us from descending into savages. You subtract a handshake, neglect a title, forget to bow, and suddenly expect to throw the whole caliber out of whack, and we're all out in the fields eating rabbits raw. You might find that image hard to fit me into, though if I may elucidate, Thomas, you would find me savaging a defenseless cabbage. Your theory borders on the enlightening discourse of Godwin. If we look at the bureaucratic mechanics directing the current world, evidence supports its deconstructive influence. Thomas leaned against the table. True, such deluded effrontery, riding upon blatant hypocrisy, and yet we are immersed in the chimera of its unimpeachable sincerity. The large eyes drank upon their own inquisitiveness. You are a vegetarian. I find that fascinating. Do you and your wife subscribe for health or morality? Morality. But health is the reward that nature uses to show her approval. Will you be retiring with us or retiring with Miss Lawson? He approved silently of the brandy. I did not arrive with Lawson, no. We are not acquaintances, and I dare say I found the curate rather, well, diffident. I will be riding home tonight. It is only a short distance. I believe Mr. Lawson is staying the night, as he is a guest of Leighton. I raised my eyes in reply. That reminds me of an earlier conversation I had with that restrictive man. I've just acquired a book on Priestley's lectures from the new college, and am waiting for it to come. The chemistry is of a great interest to me. Mr. Leighton has mentioned you being familiar with that science. Yes, I am a tutor in that subject. Do you know of dephlogisticated, Priestley's archaic term, marine acid air? Have you worked with that species? I believe it is used in linen bleaching. If you heat spirit of salt with manganese, no, I am familiar with that, but not with the acid process. Vitriol at 16 to 6, poured over the salt and manganese combination. The acid of vitriol deconstructs the salt, thereby liberating the marine acid as air. This liberated air collects dephlogisticated, more correctly atmospheric air from the manganese. Priestley observes this new species as one of marine acid vapor and dephlogisticated air. Ah, I do believe that is familiar. The smell is rather strong. Yes, unpleasant. If you take the air and put it into water, the water will absorb double, taking on a tawny coloration. This water, and of course the air itself, are used in bleaching discoloration from the linen or another natural fabric as well. I've never seen it on silk, though doubt there would be a need. As to yet another curiosity, mercury, if added to the chilled air, which thickens in that state to a yellow, will be dissolved into a new creation, corrosive sublimate. As keen as Priestley is on most subjects, I fear his theory of phlogiston is incorrect, though he persists to set faith in it. Lavoisier has corrected on that. Combustion is a reaction not related to any one element, barring the excitable influence of oxygen, of atmospheric air, of vital air, which synonym appeals. Where were you matriculated? Trinity. The brandy couldn't wait to illuminate me, and I couldn't wait for the effects to happen. If you read on, you'll find marine acid a remarkable substance. Are you a hobbyist in the realm of experimental philosophy? Oh, yes, the clever face enlivened with the insatiable vigor of a field dog. Though I haven't had much a chance at it, I am a lawyer, well, trying to be, as I believe you've heard. I just passed the bar in London and am embarrassed at the moment. I rent rooms in my family's house. Ah, the O'Connells. My peaceful mind staggered over the recollection. Strange, I couldn't remember anything when drunk but the materials of chemistry. Yes, outside of Mallow, on the road to Caraglina, not 5 miles from here. Though I dare say, I should be heading home before the Queen Clina desires to take me body and soul to her keeping. He smiled facetiously. Well, as you see, my industry has been exhausted at building a career, and that has been rather unsuccessful at this point. He shrugged and looked for agreement in the snifter of brandy. That is a difficult endeavor, though I am sure a man of your confidence and acuity shall find some opportunity. The well seems dry, though I dig further. I hope to arrange funds to find my solicitorship elsewhere. I am thinking America, actually. Please, this is a way for me to scratch for levity. What is it about marine air? Marine acid, muriatic acid. It is formed by regular salt reacting with vitriolic acid. This acid easily dissolves metals, silver, mercury. In fact, to see if water contains marine acid, you simply take a solution of, say, lead or mercury or silver in nitrous acid, and any such of those metals will bond with the marine acid in the water. Silver is particularly interesting, as it refuses to dissolve and forms a cloudy suspension when uncovered. My wife had worked with these some years back before we were married. Her passion now sits with electricity. Have you heard of the Bologna anatomist Luigi Galvani? Is that your man with the frogs? A text was published by a fellow from Edinburgh, Richard Fowler, a few years back, dealing with the experiments on animal electricity. Rather bizarre and disturbing, considering some of the experiments, certainly the drowning of cats. Yet electricity excites deceased animal matter to motion, as it does the living to involuntary action, if you have ever tried those electrical machines. Electricity is such a force that creates and proceeds motion. Still, this electricity is excited by different metals, specifically lead, zinc, and tinfoil. Zinc is particularly conductive when contacted with gold, steel, or copper. Interesting, though, certain substances transmit it more readily. Situations are variable. Sarah is fascinated with its actions in relation to metals with zinc, particularly gold, lead, and steel. I leaned in to whisper the last words. There are no corpses disturbed, dismembered, and animated here, sir. O'Connell's eyes widened. He laughed. And are you so sure of that? Not at all. I should take care to keep my senses about me. My wife may be advanced in the work of electricity, though, to sever me from the dead. Sarah is working with the conductive properties of water and the ability of charges to precipitate dissolved metal. My God, you are certain to have found a delightful woman, Dan. Ah, and as for Miss Chenery, what about that if you travel to America? If I might impose, does Catherine propose to follow, or must that part of your destiny be forsaken? I have not the means at present to marry, you see. What says your Catherine of this? His eyes pop with endorsement. She says nothing at all. I believe we could live on love, as they say, though that is foolish. It is not entirely so, as I could find employment. Still, I am convinced that I would be sunk in unhappiness. Then I cannot feel the impediment which seems to deflect. Yes, the impediment, there is one. Mrs. Chinnery would not consider a union to a man of well, meandering means. I am not in the path of fortune, though I live with enough and could provide. The level of that provision falls markedly short. Miss Chinnery does not strike me of the nature that cares of such frivolity. Though she lacks fortitude, I said, and has been driven to weakness, she craves and needs someone to lead her to contemplation. What is needed is a man of humanity and candor who loves her, as none really have, for all that she can pretend to blossom, rather than what shapes she has been cast into. She is young and can be raised to her potential. And that is what I yearn to have leave for. Mrs. Chinnery would not agree to the union on any ground, a ground specifically wanting in prosperity. Well, it is not the eldest Chinnery you are proposing to. It is the next eldest. And what, sir, has she suggested on the matter? Oh, she is delighted. Then there is no impediment. Thomas fell silent. Something struggled to free itself from his mind. I bend to you in the strictest confidence, sir. Mr. O'Connell, I am rather intoxicated, so be relieved that whatever salient news you tell me now will remain in the purgatory of my drunken brain. That is why I have considered America. Miss Chinnery and I intend to elope. On his delicate features beamed an undaunted celebration.